Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to News Nation. This is where right and left comes to be reasonable, and tonight to point out the unreasonable. Barely a day has passed since Catholic kids en masse were gunned down by another deranged young American in Minneapolis, if you haven't heard. 18 injured, 2 dead, aged 8 and 10. But you knew that. There is, however, more information to know, and we learned it today. So let's begin with Brian Entin on scene in Minneapolis with the latest. Brian, what did we learn?
Yeah, a lot came out today, Chris. There are thousands of pages of writings connected to the shooter. We knew about the manifesto that was posted on YouTube, but police today said they found thousands more of writings, is what they call them, journal entries, that more than anything, and this is the part that I think is the most disturbing, more than anything, the shooter wanted to kill children. The acting U.S. attorney said the shooter wanted to watch children suffer, and that was repeated over and over again in these journal entries, that he hated all groups, and they named a few, including blacks, Christians, Jews, Mexicans. The police chief said he appeared to hate all of us. And parts of this journal, it's interesting, were actually in Russian. So we had to get a translator to go through some of these parts. And I just got this part translated. This is something he allegedly wrote. I am sick of my hair. I want to chop it off. I only keep it because it is pretty much my last shred of being trans. I am tired of being trans. I wish I never brainwashed myself. I can't cut my hair off now, as it would be an embarrassing defeat, and it might be a concerning change of character that could get me reported. It just always gets in my way. I will probably chop it off the day of the attack, apparently referring to the attack here at the school. A few other things. I want to show you this video from outside the church. This is interesting, Chris. You can see where the windows are now. We were able to get right up to the church, and you can see these, there they are, these skinny windows, which are typical for churches, and they're boarded up now because that's what he shot through. But he knew, the police said, because he had gone to this church, that the pews lined up directly with the windows. So all of the kids were sitting in the pews, second day of school en masse, and they say that he knew if he shot through those windows that he would hit so many children. Chris?
But again, you could look at it a different way, Brian. First of all, thank you for the reporting, but, that's a pretty narrow aperture, and in truth, it's relatively modern architecture, right? Most churches had a lot more glass on them, even in that part of the country. But if he had entered the building, now I'm not giving him any credit for grace or lenience or anything like that, just choices. Shooting through that narrow pane did a lot of damage. If he had entered the building, it would have been a different order of magnitude. Thank you very much, Brian Entin, for being there and doing the job for all of us at News Nation. Appreciate you. Now, I'll tell you what, I don't want Brian to have to own what I'm going to say right now. But, you're all about transparency, right? You want to know where we are, right? You don't want to have to guess, right? Good. Do you think it would have mattered if he had entered that building and killed 50 kids? You think it would matter for what? 2 more days? 3 more days? You think anything would change? I'll tell you why they would change. What if the 50 kids in there belong to all the tech bros? What if the 50 kids in there belong to all U.S. senators or members of the House? Then something would happen. Yes. Why? Because then you can't escape the compunction, the guilt, the need to act on it, the regret, the desperation to do something so it doesn't happen again. So nobody has to feel what you feel in that moment. You know why that language comes so easily to me? Because I've heard it from so many parents of dead kids. That's why. I've heard it so many times, and I've had to look at them and listen to them and their entreaties that we don't want anybody to go through this again. We've got to do something. And I'm like, yeah, you got to let me know. How can I help? And I'm there, and I'll take the phone, and I'll do what I can, and I'll platform them with their programs. But I almost feel like I need to look at them and say, hey, listen, take care of yourself. Take care of the people that you can. Do not put your expectations on the rest of us, because you're going to deal with another tragedy. So we know the facts. But is it really about the facts? No, it's about how we feel about them, or how we choose not to feel. Do you hear that? I hear a jazz concert going on downtown, but you know what you hear? Nothing. The sound of all the lawmakers letting this moment pass. The ones who find the suggestion that it is too soon to do anything but mourn. Now is the time to act. Where are they? It's already gone. It's not even a top trending item anymore. Not for the families. Like I told you, the families are in shock. They're just starting to process what's been lost. Their lives and those of the first responders and the staff who are all bathed in the carnage, they are forever changed. But the rest of us, it's not even close. Social media is onto other silliness. What did they put in the vaccine? Our leaders on the left, where are the big names at? Where are you? Looking for a platform. It only matters if Trump shot up the place. Not as motivating as socialism. This is the time to fight the good fight and point the finger about, hey, we'll work with you. Let's do something. But they're not the ones with power. The right is. And they're doing more to defend the idea of offering thoughts and prayers, and don't criticize that, than finding ways to defend our kids. You think that's WWJD kind of thinking? Secretary Kristi Noem tweeted about the shooting yesterday once, then an hour later was posting about 5,000 arrests in Los Angeles. Nothing since. Homeland Security. Senator Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Once. Moved on. Trump sucks. AOC, Hakeem Jeffries. One tweet. Really? Free bus all day, right? Free everything, free this, free that, all day. Trump is an autocrat. He's got to go all day. Dead kids in a church, one and done. The president tweeted twice about the shooting. Once about ordering flags flown at half-staff, and then he moved on to going after Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. I think the president has an opportunity here. He should take this issue on as an extension of his crime push. The majority is feeling it. Everybody wants to be safer. The energy that does remain in this is committed to animus, looking at the situation, digging into the motives, and cherry-picking to an advancement of an agenda. Now, I personally have always been shy on motive. Why? Because I've learned over time that most of these people are diseased of mind at a minimum. So what do I care what they were thinking? It's coming from crazy brain. But this guy, this murderer, has something for everyone. He was trans, everything you want to demonize. He was trans, he regretted he was trans. He's a trans who supposedly was anti-Trump, anti-Semitic, anti-God, as he wrote on some of the magazines, and apparently anti-Catholic. It's like every agenda is trying to take a piece and say, see what we told you? That's who you should fear. You should fear them. There are actually people on social media, serious thinkers, serious people, who are putting up charts and saying, oh boy, should we have a conversation about the threat of trans people in society? Because 4 out of 4,400, 4 of them, between 2013 and whenever they finished measuring, like 2023 or 25, whatever it is. That's how many? Oh, yeah, but as a percentage of how many people say they're trans, that's pretty high. Will you stop? We got it. We got it. You want to scare us about people being different and others. We got it. We got the division. It worked. You peaked. It's all extreme all the time. Does any warm-blooded mammal really believe that transgender people are the predators in our society? But for them, we'd be better off. Come on. The reactions and takes are so pathetic, it's almost a good thing that this story fades as quickly as it is. And yet, there are 2 things I want you to take notice of before we move on, all right? 1, the obvious. No matter what they said or what they say if they're ever asked about it, you now know no one in power cares enough to actually do anything about this one day after. One day. And the calls have quieted. And it's not like it has to be about guns. I get the impasse. But it's not guns or do nothing. Ask the Sandy Hook people. They will tell you that they have prevented over a dozen incidents in schools by teaching people how to identify those who have gone down deep, dark holes and could be, God forbid, capable of something as violent as this. Nothing to do with the gun piece, and yet it works. But we can't even do that. We're cutting the funding for mental health. And of course, there's a gun piece. You think it's just pure coincidence that during the assault weapons ban, this wasn't a thing? But nobody wants to compromise on anything because everyone is playing to advantage all the time where any kind of cooperation or yielding is weakness and failure. And that takes me to my second problem. We should notice, before we're all forced to see it in blood again, and we will, this shooting is not about one person. It is a reflection of what this society accepts. Just by its quick moving on past is acceptance of it. See this. Our society is surrendering to extremism. I have been saying it, fundamentalism, extremism, whatever you want to call it, okay? Outrageous, one-sided, black and white, and beyond reasoning. It's happening all the time in ways big and small. This 4 people out of 4,400 and they want to make it a thing, that's extreme, okay? That's not reasonable. You're so desperate to make a point to demonize somebody that you are twisting a nothing number. Why? Because it works for you. I then read another piece in the Free Press, which I love. I'm a big Barry Weiss fan, about how this is proof. She didn't write it, but it was in Free Press. She runs it. Proof of America's nihilism on display. I disagree. Nihilism is a philosophical understanding of nothing mattering, that there is no value in anything. There's no value in virtue. It doesn't matter what you do in the ultimate scheme of things. And for some, whether there is any real thing as truth to begin with. That's not what this is philosophically or politically. This guy, having all these conflicting agendas that were all just directionally towards outrage and hate, right? Why didn't he just say, I hate everybody and everything? Because the categories are currency these days. That's why. I hate everybody. That's what my generation said, Gen X. We hate everybody. Not now. Everybody's a type. Everything's an ism. Right? So he's got to say, I don't like the trans, I don't like that I'm trans, I don't like this, I don't like this anti-Semite, I don't like that, I don't like this. Everything's in a category. It's all currency. But just look at the reactions to this. One side, white hot about how this is the other to blame. Everything's a gotcha. Everything is twisted for advantage and pulling little pieces of something that works for you. We are all division all the time, and that's exactly what was on display with this madman. And everything comes down to violence. Of course, there are more of these than during the assault weapons ban, than before social media, than before politics became a podcast-driven blood sport. See what it is, and see who gets what it is, and, God willing, wants to do something about it to make us better. Let's discuss. I want to bring in the newest member of the NewsNation family, known to me as the Bus, which I'm sure she loves, Batya Ungar-Sargon.
I do love it,
The
Chris.
Bus was also my favorite running back of all time. But, you know, you don't look like a bus, you don't sound like a bus, you don't think like a bus. You check every box of what will be successful on cable television, and I wish you well.
Thank you so much for having me. I do love it when you call me that, though, so keep doing it.
All right, so talk to me. Your new show begins September 20, all right? Let's discuss. I was reading some of what you put out that, to me, I want you to explain what your take is on this. Forget what it means to me. I'll talk to you about it afterwards. Where are you on this? You put out a very strong statement.
So I heard everything you said, Chris, and I was feeling it deeply. I'm a common ground person as well. But I think it's really important for people to understand why people on the right got so upset by the Democrats' response. What happened was a person who seems to be a trans person murdered praying Catholics. And the Democrats' response was to rush to attack prayer and then defend the trans community. So there was a reversal of the victim and the perpetrator, which, by the way, was exactly what the shooter had written on his guns. He wrote, "Where is your God?" And that was what a lot of people on the right heard when Democrat after Democrat after Democrat came out and said, prayers are not enough. Those children were literally praying. They associated the victims of this horrific act with their political enemies and ran to the defense of who they thought the killer was and the community they believed he came from. So much so that they wouldn't even identify him as trans because they didn't want to besmirch what they view as a protected category. And this is unbelievably hurtful and offensive and pathological, Chris, especially in a moment when a community is mourning.
Okay. One, some, not all. All right. We'll agree on that. Two, prayers aren't enough. I'm not anti-prayer, but you know why you pray, and I know why I pray. You probably pray for more for other people. Here's what I pray. Thank you. Thank you for the mercy of your grace of forgiveness. Thank you. Help me. Help me do better. Help me be better. Help me. Help me. The prayer without the intentionality of purpose is nothing. You know it in your faith. You know I am mishpucha and how much I care for and respect Judaism and the Zionist cause. And as a raised Catholic, prayer alone is nothing. You walk out of Mass, you walk out of synagogue, and you do nothing different in pursuit of what you were just praying with, you're a hypocrite. And every holy book would say the same on monotheism. That's the point. It's that you stop at thoughts and prayers as if somehow that's enough. That's what I think. Now, the trans thing, I would flip the other way, Batya. I don't care that the killer is trans. The fact that they were trans and self-hating about trans, that's something to talk about. NewsNation is the only entity that's ever reported on it in a special way about detransitioning. But I don't see any lefties putting out the numbers about how many trans mass shooters there have been and whether this is an issue that we have to take up. That's pretty dirty politics, too, is it not?
What Brian Enton just revealed is so unbelievably important, and you're so right. It's the exact kind of nuance that you really only find on NewsNation. He reported to us by translating a piece of that diary that the killer was trans but regretted it. Now, what we learned from this is that this is a deeply evil, deeply, deeply sick person who was mentally ill for a long time and whose mental illness got coded as transgenderism by perhaps people who were trying to help him, including his mother. Now, I don't know. I am not a psychiatrist. I don't understand the link between transgenderism and mental illness. It's obviously very complex. But you know what, Chris? No one is looking into this because they are a protected category, because the Democrats have assigned them the status, and therefore you're not even allowed to ask these questions. So no medical institutions are even looking into it. And that is very problematic. And that, by the way, Chris, is radicalizing to people on the right when they feel that they cannot say things that they can see with their own eyes. That is radicalizing because that makes people believe conspiracy theories like the one you keep pointing out about the 4 versus the 4,000.
Well, look, Batya, there's one thing between a critical thinker like you who has a problem with the chilling effect on suggestion, okay? And of course, we're not in appease mode, we're in oppose mode here. We oppose ideas. That's what we do, and we conflict with them, and that's what we do. We agree to disagree, we disagree with decency, but we're here to oppose ideas, not to appease people who have ideas. And yet, you can be trans and not sick, and you can be trans and sick. And should they research it? Should you ask the questions? All day long. Am I afraid of trans people? Hell no, I'm not afraid of trans people. I'm afraid of mentally ill people who are extreme and violent. And I'm afraid of all extreme people. Mentally ill people? No, I'm not afraid of them. Statistically more likely to be victims than assailants. But we've got to do better. Everybody knows it. But at the end of the day, Batya, the two sides care about the argument, not the outcome. That's why I'm looking forward to your show. You are smart, you are convicted, and you are concerned. And I think you're going to do very well. And I will call you the boss until the bosses tell me to stop.
Thank you very much, Chris. And I do have to admit, I was very humbled by your opening. It really made me think about my positions and was I being fair enough to the other side? So thank you for that.
Batya, I listen to you all the time. Now, I'm usually, hearing where you're coming from, especially about the Middle East. But we got to be open to what we disagree with. That's how we get better. Take care, my friend, and good luck. Thank you for being with me tonight.
God bless. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I need it. I need it. Bus, 4 minutes and 35 seconds. HHS Secretary Bobby Kennedy says the CDC is broken and it's got to be fixed. And that's why he is there. And that includes the head of the CDC. Critics say this is about pushing crazy. And Kennedy says, and his supporters say, no, it would be crazy not to push. Let's debate, okay? What is the right thing for us? Let's look at it through the lens of what they just did with the COVID vaccine. Has it just put people at risk, or has it removed risk from people? Former head of the CDC, former White House COVID coordinator, next.
We need to look at the priorities of the agency. If there's really a deeply, deeply embedded, I would say, malaise at the agency. But the agency is in trouble, and we need to fix it, and we are fixing it, and it may be that some people should not be working there anymore.
Do you disagree? That's why we had an election, okay? And elections have consequences. Now, let's see what Bobby Kennedy Jr. calls fixing as HHS Secretary. This was the context to why CDC Director Susan Monarez is out. Now, I don't say fired, ousted, quit, whatever, because I don't know. It's kind of weird how they've been explaining it. But she's out. Kennedy says the agency has been troubled for a long time. Reports say that she was targeted after she refused to fire senior leaders and rubber stamp recommendations by Kennedy's new vaccine advisory panel. Other top CDC officials announced their resignations in protest after her finding yesterday. Now, that is suggestive that there are other people there who didn't see her as the problem, or at least they didn't think their job was worth staying after she left. It's now reported that the new temporary acting Secretary of HHS will be Kennedy's deputy. So, is this a sign of better or worse things to come in the context of what we just learned today about the COVID vaccine not being mandated for as many different types of people? Now, can you still get it off label? Yeah, but it may affect who gets access to it because of insurance. What if you go to a pharmacy and not to a doctor? All right. Let's discuss. I want to bring in Trump's former CDC director, Dr. Robert Redfield, former White House COVID coordinator for the Biden administration, Dr. Ashish Jha. Both are friends of mine who helped me in times sick and well. Love you both. Thank you for being here. Bob Redfield, let's do staffing and then we'll do COVID. Let's try to bang through them. On the staffing side, those who are concerned about this and it shows a radical shift, what do you say to them, Bob?
Well, I think, Chris, it's important that the reality is the secretary has to have people in leading these agencies that he has confidence in and he feels that are supporting his agenda. And unfortunately, even though I have a lot of respect for Susan, I think they got in a situation where it was not viewed that she was supportive of the secretary's agenda. Obviously, changing CDC is a really important thing. I believe it needs to get back to its primary mission of being a public health response agency. And I think Kennedy is on a path to try to accomplish that. But it's caused a lot of dissatisfaction among a number of the traditional CDC employees who've been there for the last 20 to 30 years.
So, Ashish, you've gone through the political hurdles. You know what it is to be part of a team and what has to be a crisis of conscience. What do you think of this move and what is the right way for people to analyze it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Chris, thanks for having me back. And I suspect Bob and I agree on the need to reform CDC. It is urgently needed. But let's get some facts clear. Susan Monarez, Secretary Kennedy nominated her 2 months ago. This was his person. He nominated her. She went through the Senate confirmation process. And then let's also talk about why she was fired. Was she fired because she's an old guard, old CDC person? No. She was fired because he said to her, whatever the evidence shows, I need you to back me on vaccines, and I need you to back me on my political agenda. And even though she's his pick, she said, I can't do that. I got to look at the data. I got to look at the evidence. And that's why she got fired. So this is not about cleaning house. This is his pick. He picked her. And she got fired because she refused to go along with a political agenda. She said, I'm going to rely on data and evidence. Those are the facts, Chris. And that's what we have to grapple with. And that's what makes this so troubling.
I have one question. We've all been through this process before. Don't you think they would have had that conversation before he put her up for the job, Ashish?
Yes, that's the problem. Like the president 3 months ago.
So you think she went bad on him?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I say to you, you with me? And you say, yeah. And then later on you say, I can't do that. You think that could have happened?
Yeah. So first of all, I mean, the president tweeted about how wonderful she is and how committed she is. She is wonderful. She is committed. I suspect what happened was he basically said to her, probably 3 months ago, hey, if the data shows that vaccines are harmful, are you going to be with me? And she probably said, yeah, I'm going to go with where the data goes. Unfortunately, the data don't seem to align very well with where Secretary Kennedy is. And he asked her for loyalty over truth, and she picked truth over loyalty. You would have thought they would have thought that 3 months ago.
Let me get a quick take from each of you. Dusty, just give me a little bit more time. The news that just came out about the COVID vaccines, I just explained to the audience the way I understand it, which is that the government, Bob, is saying that it's not automatic for as many people. You can still get it, but we're not going to make it a must for as many people, which will satisfy certain of vaccine critics, but may also make it harder for people who want it to get it because the insurers may not pick it up the same way if you're not in one of the preferred groups. Are you okay with this, Bob?
Yeah, I think that you have to look at the data. Again, going back to what my colleague said. And the data is that these vaccines do not prevent infection. And the data shows that where they have benefit on clinical disease is those individuals that are at risk for bad clinical outcome. And those are disproportionately people over the age of 65 or people with significant comorbidities. And so I think the revision of the recommendations that the FDA has come up with, the new approvals that they just came out with a couple of days ago, is these vaccines, the new vaccines are recommended for people over 65. Or people who are under 65 that have a significant comorbidity. If for I think Pfizer, it was if you're greater than 5 years of age to 65, and for the Moderna, I think it was greater than 6 months. So I think I'm very comfortable. These vaccines really never belong to being routinely utilized in the broader population.
Ashish?
Yeah, look, I'm pretty close to Bob on this, but I have a slight disagreement, which is, so I think what Bob said is largely right. Here's the problem. If you're a 62-year-old person and you want to get the COVID vaccine, do I think the COVID vaccine is going to probably be beneficial to you at 62? It probably is. And I wish instead of coming out with recommendations, first of all, there are no mandates. Nobody needs to get these vaccines. But I wish that the CDC and the FDA had basically said, these are our most highly recommended groups, but everybody else can get them and insurance will cover it. By taking that away, you really are reducing choice. We should be promoting more choice and more freedom at this moment, not making it hard for a 62-year-old who wants to get the COVID vaccine not to be able to get it or have to pay a lot out of pocket. So that's the place where I think I disagree with where the FDA is, but largely I think the clinical stuff here is exactly as Bob said.
All right, we'll continue it. As you know, I talk about this stuff all the time, and you guys are frequent asks for me, and for good reason. Dr. Redfield, thank you. Dr. Jha, thank you. Best to you and your families.
Great to
4
see you
minutes and
both.
30 seconds coming up. And by the way, God bless you as well. Two clinicians. I respect the hell out of both of them. You know, you'll find points of controversy with Redfield when he was at the CDC. That's for you to judge. But they disagree, but with decency. We'll never get to a better place if we don't start there. Last night, talk about getting to a worse place. Russia is doing its dirtiest since, hey, this is a pretty good meeting. 23 dead in Ukraine, in the capital, okay? What's next? Do we have to get more involved? Does somebody have to get more involved? Or should we walk away? Next. All right, since Trump's meeting with Putin, good meeting, pretty good. Thought it went pretty well. Russia has reportedly launched more than 2,200 drones since, okay? And no, not in rural areas, dense areas, looking to kill people. A Russian drone strike hit Kyiv, killed 23 people, including 4 children. This is Putin. So, was I right? Does the U.S. not have the juice to get this done? I'm not blaming the president. I actually applaud him for trying, as I did with the Biden administration. Most other countries do not want to get involved as heavily as we do, as even Trump, who says he would campaign on wanting to stay out of it, even as he has been. So, do we got to pull away? Or do we have to go all in? Let's ask Dan Rice, former special advisor to the Ukrainian commander-in-chief and president of the American University in Kyiv. First of all, brother, I hope everybody you know is okay from this most recent round of violence.
As of last night, yes, we didn't suffer any casualties last night, but 3 weeks ago we lost a woman who ran our coffee shop, Campus Coffee, and her 2 children. So they killed 3 of our people, innocent people. This is what they're doing every day, Chris. They're killing innocent people, intentionally targeting residential buildings. Putin is a sociopath. We need to stop him. Your question was, should we back away? Absolutely not. The Ukrainian people deserve our support. We have the weapons. We need to give more weapons. We need to give more sanctions. And we need to let Ukraine take it into the Russians in Russia. And that's what they're doing. This month alone, Ukraine destroyed 17% of the refining capacity of Russia. This is going to hit Russia hard for a long time. Their future cash flows are being destroyed every month. That's the only way you get Putin to the table, through force.
But what about mission creep? What about those who are concerned that we can't, you're asking for all-out war and Putin's never going to stop, and then he's going to go nuclear or start using his biological, and, more force may not make right.
No, I think that was the jargon that Jake Sullivan, the previous national security fellow, for when Lavrov, the foreign minister, who's basically a 75-year-old senile, fat old man who wears a Soviet Union shirt to the negotiations, he and Putin are playing good Soviet, bad Soviet. Putin says he wants peace. Lavrov comes up with a bunch of excuses of why they can't have peace. They do not want peace, Chris. You got to hit them hard. Doesn't mean U.S. boots on the ground, not advocating that by any stretch. Continue to provide Ukraine the support Ukraine needs. Ukraine will win. And if right now the Ukrainians are delivering now the Pelican cruise missile, it's a very large cruise missile, larger than our Tomahawks. It's got an 1,800-mile range. It's got a 2,500-pound warhead. It is destroying Russian energy and Russian military targets. That's a big difference. Ukraine targets military. Russia targets civilians. He's a war criminal. The whole Russian military is a war criminal mafia group. They're sick people, Chris, and they must be stopped or they will continue on into Poland and elsewhere. We must stop them here. Ukraine's doing all the fighting. Support Ukraine in every way, and Ukraine will win, and defend all of Europe.
What is your level of certainty that if they were properly equipped, in quotes, to your specifications, that Ukraine can win? Because there are many in your field who don't believe they can win.
I 100% believe they can win. It's a math problem at this point. In hindsight, had we given them the right weapons before the invasion, they could have stopped the Russian invasion at the border. That hindsight's 2020. But right now, where we are right now, Russia has lost, listen to this, Chris, 1 million soldiers, casualties.
Right.
They have lost 32,000 artillery pieces, 22,000 armored vehicles, 12,000 tanks. They've lost a third of their Black Sea fleet. They've lost half of their strategic bombers. And just this month, they lost 17% of the refineries. They are getting crushed. Putin won't admit it, but he is getting crushed. His country is running out of money. They cannot go to, because of the sanctions, they can't get any debt. They're in trouble financially. Okay. And that's what President Trump is so good at. He's using trade as a weapon now, Chris. That's our biggest, strongest weapon. If we use that in force, Ukraine will win.
Dan Rice, thank you for being vehement and succinct. Appreciate you. We'll talk again. Stay safe, brother. Let me know what's going on. 4 minutes and 15 seconds. So there are a lot of people talking about the military, America's capabilities. We've gotten soft. We've gotten too inclusive. We're weak. Go to West Point and see what you think then. This is the place where we make real men and real women. Army cadets. You want to hear about how lethal the American fighting machine is? An inside tank from Frank Luntz. He has an interview that you have to see if you want to know where America is headed.
I'm unapologetically patriotic. And so when I'm sitting here and I'm going through these moments of waking up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning and thinking, why am I doing this? All I have to tell myself is that someone out there across the globe is trying to hurt those that are important to me, trying to hurt the country I love, and I will not let them.
West Point, Army cadet. That is our best and our brightest. They are training to protect us from all the people that we can't take on ourselves, to ensure that we can sit here and destroy our culture for free. If you think the U.S. has gotten soft, that the military is too inclusive, you do not know what the hell you're talking about. That's why Frank Luntz, my friend, asked to come on to disabuse you of this notion. A program at West Point that turns these people into lethal fighting machines for the right cause. For the first time, West Point has invited those taking part in the Cadet Leadership Development Training program to talk about their training while they go through it, okay? We're going to show you some of that. But first, I wanted to bring in American Politics Senior Fellow at West Point, Frank Luntz. Frank, thank you for coming to me as always and being my friend and teaching me about this. What do you want people to understand from what they're about to see?
That the place has changed and you can feel it. I've been around for a couple of years now, and there's something happened in January, February, March, and I felt it. It was always about discipline and always about resilience, but there's a serious now, a war fighting, and I want to be specific here. They don't talk about war fighting. I got shut down by the leadership. When I talked about war fighting, they told me it's about war winning. And I acknowledge that because I didn't understand it. And these pictures that viewers are seeing, this is the actual training that they go through. And it's frightening because it's so serious and it's so realistic. And this is exactly what these cadets need, not just to fight the next battle, but to win it, to be guaranteed that safety and security that we come to expect from West Point. They're delivering it every single day.
So this is not something that you've had a chance to see before. Frank has made it available to us. Let's take a watch.
How does CLDT prepare you for real war?
The United States Army is by far and away the greatest ground fighting force that the history of the world has ever seen, but we can always be better. We want to widen that gap between us and our adversaries as much as possible to make it so we can destroy them quicker than they can destroy us, to the point where hopefully they're so scared of us we won't even have to go to war.
And doing this just flexes on the idea that we are now so prepared for anything that comes to us, comes against us, that we have the capabilities of people that are familiar with what to expect, as well as those that are confident with what they do.
I don't know if you'll remember this, Frank, but I remember talking to you when I was first back here and you were at West Point. And I was like, so what are you doing at West Point, Frank? And you said, this is where they succeed at forming a more perfect union. What do you see at West Point that you think the country needs to understand?
Well, the first part is no politics. They don't take sides. There is no side. There's only the Constitution. So you don't have these political debates. There's nothing about ideology. It's all about the country and the Constitution. Second is that there's this concept of selfless service that they live every single day. You know that I'm not particularly healthy. You can hear it in my voice right now. These cadets want to help. They want to be involved. They want to be engaged. They want to serve individually, and they want to serve the country. And I've never met students like this. And third, there's nothing that they cannot overcome. They're getting 2 hours of sleep at night. They're getting, even if they're lucky, a meal a day in this training exercise, because it's meant to replicate exactly, precisely, the conditions that they will face if and when, and God forbid, we're in another war. There is no woke. There is no DEI. It's gone. It's been uprooted. And this academy is so different today in August of 2025 than it was even a year ago. I feel it. I sense it. The tradition is still there, but the commitment to win America's wars has never been greater.
Frank, I appreciate the insight, and I got to be honest, it's good to know. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Boy, oh boy, nothing gets better as long as everybody is addicted to worse. And let me tell you something. If you can't start to find things in common with people and you just hate anyone you disagree with, we got worse day aheads. But here at NewsNation, we're about better. And that's why Leland Vittert takes the baton right now.
Why is it every time you come to me, you are complaining about what people are saying to you on social media?
Oh, no. This is about the state of play that we're seeing in reaction to the shooting is my context. I promise you this, the extent that I have any of this Brillo pad left on my head is because I have recklessly little regard for what people say about me on social media. But when I see that either you want to go all in on how trans people are going to kill the rest of us, or that this is all about somebody, just having perverse religiosity, it's all too extreme, Leland. It's all getting worse all the time, and it's no good for anybody.
Fair enough. Excellent points. Chris, great show.